Okay, this is what we're doing today. We're going to look at file creation. In the textbook, we have this explaining how to create a file, file.createText. So file.createText is assigned to a stream writer. Now I'm going to go to the code and let's see if this is cooperating yet. No property. I guess I'm going to double click until and have it take me to the code for that button. I'm not sure why I'm not getting properties show up. Double clicking. Now here I want to create and write to file. File. Well, what am I gonna? Let's create the file and then we'll do some writing to it. So I'm gonna do dim. Fat fingering too many keys here. Dim. Let's call it. I'm going to call it StreamWriter SWriter out file. You can choose whatever your name you want. Equals. Or sorry, not equals. As StreamWriter. Now I could do a equals the file.createText right now. Equal file.createText, and then my file name, I'll call it outfile.txt. Now, one advantage of this is I can do it all in one line, but one problem of this is, suppose I do have a problem with this. If I put try catch around this, well, the catch can't see the stream writer output because it's declared inside the try section. So I will try to do this. I'll do try, and then do swriter out file equals file.createText, and then catch and try. I don't have to put any code here. I could have it do nothing, but typically you want to say something like message box problem opening. What's the name of my file? Here I have it hard coded here. Let's put the name of our file. Let's make that a constant in our program. I'm going to cut it out of there. Let's put it at the very top of my program, and let's call it const stir out file name as string, and have it be equal to that. Then, whenever I'm wanting to open a file, I refer it to it by that name here. I gave it the name stir out file name, and I gave it the name outfile.txt. Now you got to be careful here. If you actually give it the name of something that exists that you don't want to be wiped out, you might want to check that the file is there first. But we're going to assume
Be right now relative, like a relative path to the bin.
Yeah, and this is another way to figure out. When I create a file, where does it create it? I believe it's going to be way down there in where the executable will be. And this is a way to find that out. If I create a file without giving it a path, where will it appear? So now let's write to it. And to write to it, let's see what we can do. swriter out file dot write. Oh, look at there, there's our write line. There's our write line function. And let's just write a line. Let's call it first line. Now, in my program, as I think about this, I might want to be writing to the file the name of the song that's currently chosen, or maybe the title, and just keep maybe the date and time. But remember what I want to do. Once I'm done using the file, let's go ahead, and this is something you always want to do. It's easy to forget about this. Whenever I'm done with a file, always do a close. Otherwise, your program is going to have problems hanging files that are laying open or locked. So always close the file. And here now I can say problem opening and then the file name. Stir out file name. So if I ever decide to change the name of my output file, I change here as well as the error message saying, hey, here's the file I had a problem opening. Now with the helpful text, the autocomplete, so much of it is helping you. I used to have to write and then manually check for typos, then I'd run the compiler would come back and say, hey, you had an error at line 67.
Makes it a lot easier
Yeah.
too right now.
Right, yeah, with broken finger.
Because I can't tab easily.
Oh, yeah.
So I kind of just rely
So,
on the autocomplete very heavily.
I predict that the out file is going to be created in your, way down in your, wherever your bin program is. Let's prove that by running and then clicking the button 1.
Yeah.
It doesn't present a message, so it's just testing it. I won't know it's there until I go to my file explorer.
It's in that net.dots.
Yeah, way down below. And I believe we can actually put a relative path. That's something we can play with too now, is we can put a relative path on that and just see, will, as long as I have right permissions to where I'm saving the file, here's where I put my songs there in the bin folder, down in debug, net 6 Windows. There I see my out file. So I created the file, I can open it, and there's the line that got added to it.
I mean, if you ran the file, if you ran the executable as an administrator, could you have code in here that writes it to anywhere?
I believe so, yeah,
Okay.
because it's running as administrator. That makes it dangerous, yep. So what happens when you install a program, often when you install it, remember, programs that you typically install on your computer are over here in your C drive. They're installed over here in your C drive program files. And down in there, something may be hard-coded in that particular file where the default location of finding things and settings are, or when you do the install, it may actually be writing information to a file. So file I/O is often used at the very start of a program, getting the configuration of where do I save stuff. Another place where programs save things is in the system registry, and that's kind of scary because the registry is like a big forest and maze of variables that are accessible from anywhere on the system. Okay, so back to our writing files. I see where my file got created, and that's a great way to test. And that was the first time I discovered. Now, where are files if I go to try to open them? Where do they get created? Well, this is a great way to see. Just create a file with just a name without any path in front of it, and find out where it appears. If I want it to appear in bin, I could put this in my path, I believe, .. .. And now it will be created over, I think, in the bin folder. Let's just prove that by running. Stop the program as is and run it again. And when I do the run my program and click out, or button 1, click button 1, and then close it. Let's see where that file got created. I come back here to my program, where I keep my project. There it got created in the bin folder. So yes, I can use relative paths, go up 2 levels from where my binary file is. Remember the binary file, it looks like my project.exe, I believe. There it is, the file processing.exe. Watch what happens if I just double click on that. My program runs. That is the program built, and I could send this executable to my friends. I think it would work because we're not doing anything super fancy. I think this would work on anyone else's computer running Windows, but you may run into other troubles like libraries that need to be there, like a .NET or something. That's what we deal with when we package our program so someone else can use it on their computer. Okay, so let's go back now. We now know how to write a file, and right now we've been reading a file. Here's my stream reader. Let's go ahead and put this in a try-catch because I may have a problem processing my file. Let's go ahead and put in a try-catch around that. And I'm going to call it safe programming. Let's do a try, and then all these things that we do should happen correctly. So I'll put the catch way down here. Catch, catch. And I'll just do a message box, parenthesis, quotes, problem, opening, file, and then concatenate on the name of the file I was trying to stir file name. And somehow I deleted the end and try. Fat fingering too much today. So the catch part is really simple. I simply put up a message, sorry I couldn't open that file. The rest of the thing, I'm assuming once I've opened the file, I'm not going to have errors anywhere else. But if you actually did have a different error that would cause an exception, you will still jump to this catch part and you'll say problem opening a file, even if your problem was not a problem opening a file. So this is the main thing I'm going to check for. Fail if unable to open the lyrics file. File containing lyrics. Alright, so I'm going to process the lines now, and let's see what we have so far. The try catch shouldn't change anything in my execution of my program, but let's run it just to be sure. I click display. I get the entire song listed over here in this real text. I would like now to be displaying just each verse, and I see that what's separating them is my equal sign. And so if I could simply process through this string of characters and say when I come to an equal sign, that means I'm starting a new verse, and let's assign this string to be a part of my array of strings. So let's just make each verse be part of an array, and I'll call that my song array maybe, and each element of the array will be one verse of that, and I'll remember that one of them is actually treated as the chorus. This section here is the fourth thing in my sections of containing the chorus. So let's figure this out first. Let's figure out, is there a way to turn, we're going to write the code to turn a string that has equal signs delimiting the verses. I want to write a function that turns this into an array of strings. You have the skills so far to do it, or we've covered the knowledge so far. Let's see if we can do that. And I'm going to help you write this. Often you'll put functions like that in a separate file. I'm going to put it here right at the bottom. I'm going to, first of all, put comments of what I want to do. Turn a string with some delimiter into an array of strings. Well, we get, first of all, I'll decide the name of my function. I'll zoom in a little bit here for you. The name of my function, I think I'm going to call function stir split, where it takes a string as string and a, what should I call it? I'll call it my delim, sdelim as string. And it's going to return, I'll put the continuing string, it's going to return a string array. The parentheses there means I return a string array. So this function here then, I'm going to declare what I'm going to be returning later. So I'm going to do dim, I'll call it a stir result, as string. Oh, parenthesis, as string. Now I don't know how big that array is yet. And then I'm going to, when I'm done, I'll be doing return a str result. Now what I do in between is important. He's going to give me a little green squiggly saying, hey, you haven't put anything in there. You might have a problem. He's giving me a little warning.
Can you go, like I added, sorry, can you go back up to the display button? Because I tried adding these go. Okay. No, because I just added the try.
Okay, yeah, the try goes up there before you do the file open. And then you can do the catch way at the end of everything else you did. And then inside of there I just put a message box.
Because I'm lost.
Maybe I'll get rid of a few blank lines here so you have more you can see. And that was the end of the sub.
That's it.
Find it? So my song, my stream reader, you know, if you didn't close the file, I believe your program would still work.
I closed it within the loop. That's the problem.
Oh, I see.
Excellent.
If you don't close it, I don't think it'll cause your program to crash, but it just may cause bad memory leaks that you're never closing files. If you did this again, it's going to open a new file, and it's hard to predict how your computer is going to behave. Sometimes Visual Basic will handle files that have been opened and forgot to close. It may realize, oh, they're not being used, the file handle is gone or something. It may know to close it, but it's best to do it as a programmer to know when you're done with the file. Okay, so we need to return an array that will be this string separated out by the delimiter. So we have a delimiter that's going to determine how when we start a new element of array. Okay, so first thing we do is write down some pseudocode here in comments. Let's think about how we're going to do it. We're going to read through each character in the string. If an equal sign or delimiter, if we see the delimiter, what do? Well, we add current content to an array, a string array. So as you read through each character, if we see the delimiter, whatever we've read so far gets added to the array. Otherwise, I put a start comment or starts auto completing. Otherwise, add or concatenate this char to the current string. Seems easy enough. And then also if at the end of the string. Remember, if we hit the end of the string, we know whatever's between the last equal sign or last delimiter and this one needs also to be added to my array that I'm returning. Well, how in the world do I do that? Well, let's first of all figure out how to read through each character in a string. And how do my comments jump other way? Somehow I fat fingered up to there. Okay, so let's do the easy part first. What would the loop look like that iterates through every item in my string str?
For each loop.
Yeah, a for loop is great. For I as integer equals, where do we start? Typically it's either, do I start at 0 or 1?
0.
And if I know my indexes into an arrays, start at 0. I go to 0, 2, and then what is my 2 part? How far do I go?
String length.
Yeah, I want to know how long that string is. The index can only go to str length minus 1. To str dot length minus 1. And it automatically puts my next in there for me. So this is my loop processing, and I know I can, each character I know is at index I. So I can just refer to str parenthesis I is the character at that position. So let's just do the if part. If the equal, or sorry, not equal, if stlim is equal to the current character, which would be str parenthesis I, then what do? Well, I'm going to put a little comment here. Add current, so what should I call it? A buffer? I'll call it a verse. Verse to a str result. Still don't know how to do that, but that's what I want to do. Otherwise, what do? Else, well, I need to be building up my verse as I read through each character, and so far I haven't declared any string to hold my current verse. So I'm going to declare that up here. Let's do dim str current verse as string. Empty string at the start. And now, as I read through it, if I haven't hit my delimiter, I will say, oh, let's do str current verse concatenates. I can do and equal or plus equal. Take either one. Equals str I, the character at position I. So if I don't have a delimiter, I just keep adding what's at position I in my string, concatenating it onto my current verse. And then when I'm done, if I've done the right thing here, I should have a decent array of strings. Oh, and also remember, once I'm done with a loop, there is one more thing to be done. Before I return, I better do this. I put add last verse to the str array. Str result. A str result. That's the name of the variable. So all we have to figure out now is, if I have a string, how do I add it to an array which starts out without any length yet? How do I add another element to another array, which when I start, I don't know how many elements are in there? And this comes to, kind of brings up a thing with Visual Basic. If I'm using arrays and I want to resize an array, I have to figure out what is the best way to do that. If I knew how much goes in there, I can just say, oh, let's make this an array, have it be 100, and if there's nothing in it, it'll just be a blank string. just declare an array of 100. That would be, I'd say, the lazy way of doing it. Just say, hey, I'm declare I have 100 strings, and if you happen to have more than 100 verses, well, sorry, you're going to try to write beyond the end, or I'm going to ignore that verse. That would be the lazy way. We would like to create an array and then add to it, even though it may start with nothing in it. And that takes a little bit more work, because we have to redimension the array each time we add something to it. And I'm looking for an example of the best way to add an array element to it. Boy, they're not giving me good examples here. It's not that hard a thing to do. And when you look for examples, you can often run into VBA, and I'm looking for an example, a nice example that it starts out with 0 length and then adds to it. Yeah, I guess I just have to keep track of how big my array is. I think I have to keep track of a separate number of how big my array is. So let's do this. Let's do dim. I'll call it I array size. How about stir size? Or stir size as integer equals 0. Now, since array doesn't have anything in it yet, because I've declared it as an array of strings but nothing yet, here's what I need to do. If I have a new thing to add, I can do this. I do redim a stir result, give it a new length of stir current, or I stir size. And now I can say a stir result at that current size, stir size, is equal to my stir current verse. So what this means is I make room for one more thing in my array. Put a little comment there. Make room for another element. Assign it the value. And now clear out the stir current verse equals blank string, and increment I stir size by 1. Let's see if this works. And let's read through what the code is. I have a delimiter if that's equal to the current cursor character I'm at. I'm going to make room in my A stir result. I'm redimensioning it. And another thing I need to do is I need to preserve what was in it before. I need to add the word preserve. What this says is, give me another element in this array, preserve what's in it already, but give it a slightly larger size. And what Visual Basic is actually doing, we don't care. Think of it as it's just resizing the array, so now I have that many elements, or that's my highest index now. Now let's see if this works. Right now, let's actually call it from my, let's see, when I when I do the display, I want to split this. So I'm going to add this to my display, stir split, and where's my display button? Right up here. So I'm reading my array. Here's my lyrics. Now instead of setting my text in there to be all my lyrics, I want to split it. So I'm going to do I'm returning an array of strings. So I'm going to come up here and do, let's see here, my song. I'm going to declare it here for now, and then we'll see later we want to declare it as a global variable. I'm going to dim, I'll call it stir song as string equals stir split, taking my string, which is my stir lyrics, splitting it on the character, the equal sign. And now, instead of setting my text to be stir lyrics, the whole text, I'm going to set my text to be a stir song element 0. Display first element, first verse. So I looked up online the best way to to add to an array. Here I'm saying I have my lyrics. I want to split them up into an array. I'm going to put them in the array a stir song, and then I'm going to just display the first verse. And you'll see pretty quickly here that if I want to go to the next verse, when I click another button, I need to somehow have access to my song that's been built into an array. And right now, the only thing that can access a stir song is the first display button. So I'm going to need to make a stir song a global variable. But let's test that this code works first, and then we'll start rearranging where my variables are so I can do more with them. Here comes the application. Click display. I do get the first verse. Oh, but I realize the first verse is actually the title section. So I would like my forward and backward button to now take me to the next verse up here in the text box. But first, let's do any debugging. Make sure you got this far. This will be a good point of, hey, check that you got this, and then we will continue arranging our variables so we can go through all the verses when we click that other button. So I'm going to pause right now, unless you all are with me. You're all good? Oh, so I don't need to pause. All right, so let's go to the next thing. We would like, when we click on the next button, to actually display the next verse in our song. So let's write the code for that, double-clicking on that. I gave it a name, forward click, so now I get a decent-looking subroutine. And what I want to do there is display the next verse of the current song. Well, right away I see I don't have access to the current song because it's been declared right here as a variable. So what I want to do is, instead of having this be the declaration of a stir song, I'm going to just say a stir song is going to be assigned the results of that, but I'm declaring a stir song way up here in my global variables, and they typically come after constants. Variables that I need to access from multiple procedures or subroutines. And in this case, this variable, a stir song, is a song that I need to access when I click those other buttons. So I'll call this, and put a little comment there, holds the current song lyrics. And each element of the array is a verse of the song, except for 0 element 0 is the title and verse and order information. So we may want to decide when we display it, jump right to element 1 if there is an element 1. We haven't done any error checking yet. Now a stir song is available to me. I probably need to know not only that I need access to the song, I also need to know what is the current verse being displayed. So down here, let's see, where are we reading the current verse? I probably want to make current verse also the current verse is a string. I probably need to keep track of what current verse I'm on in the song. Right now I'm just displaying element 0, but if I hit the forward and backward button, I need to go to a different element in the array of verses. So I better keep a global variable also up here. Let's call it dim. Let's call it I song verse as integer, and we'll give an initial value of 0. And this is a currently displayed verse. Now, when I go forward and backward, I'm going to be incrementing, decrementing I song verse. I need to get at it from all my other functions, and I also should come down here when I open the file initially. Instead of displaying stir song 0, let's display stir song I song verse. And we probably, now that we've read it, let's set I song verse to be 0 in case we're getting ready to read other songs. Let's set it to 0, or should we set it to 1 since I know 0 is my title? No, let's set it to 0 for now, just so I can verify my title as I get ready to read other files. So I would say reset to beginning of song. I see, as you go little by little, as you add features, you might have to go back and rearrange some code. As I think about going forward and backward, I realize, oh, I have to keep track all throughout my program what verse I'm on and what are the lyrics in my array of strings. Now, in our forward button, now I can say rtx lyrics dot text equals, well, that would be a stir song parenthesis I song verse. But I probably want to increment my song verse first, right? As I hit the forward button, I song verse plus equals 1. This should be all I need to do to then go to the next verse of my song. Now I know right away that for now I'm not doing any error checking. If I keep going forward, I think I'm going to run beyond the bounds of my array. I'm going to come back and add some error checking. But for now, let's just see that it works. Display, got that, forward, look at that, I do get the other verse. I get an extra blank line. I think I want to get rid of that extra blank line, but otherwise I am getting lines. Oh, there I just went past the end of my array and I get the system index out of range.
I'm getting an error.
Okay. Do a little debugging now.
Can you roll just slowly kind of?
Here's where I'm redimensioning my array.
Yeah, I just have a problem with a string song
Okay, and we declared it way up at the top as a empty array of strings. It has nothing in it right now until I start redimming it. And then down here, when I click on the display, I read one line at a time, read it into my stir lyrics, close the file, and then I split my lyrics on the equal symbol. And you know what? I wonder if I can split that on the equal symbol and the CHRLF. Except that's 2 characters, and it's only checking 1 character at a time.
There we go. It was because I was redefining. I still had the old. I was declaring it within the display subroutine.
Now let's do a little fix here. It seems like something trivial. If I want to not have that extra character here, if I see it's a delimiter, then I put my current text into the array, and then I skip this character. I'm wondering if I should skip over the next character if it's the carriage return line feed. But I'm worried. Let's see what will happen. I'm going to try to get rid of that extra space. See how I'm getting that extra space? Let me show you what I'm talking about. When I run it, and you should probably be getting this too. When I click display, and then I click the next verse, see how it adds this empty line? Because there was it got rid of ignored the equal sign, but there was a new line character that it's leaving in there. And I would like to not have that left in there and have that extra space, because I'm going to want to enlarge my font and not have that always a padding at the top. I want to have control over that. So I'm wondering if I can do this. If I found the equal sign, how about I just skip over 2 characters? And let's see what happens. No, I don't want to do that. That's not. This is adding another verse. Can I increment I by 1? I don't want to increment I stir size. That's my size of my song. That should. How can I skip over another character? Let's see if I can do this. This is a little dangerous. What if I can do I plus equals 1? This is a dangerous thing to do. Modifying your looping variable inside your loop can sometimes cause you real trouble. I'm going to put in here dangerous. But I think this is something I want to do. Skip over CRLF. See if that does it. If I skip over another character by incrementing my little looping variable, and then I'm assuming it's going to increment it again when it does to the next. Let's see what happens. Display blank. Oh, it didn't work at giving me another line. What else could I do? I suppose that didn't work. I suppose I could say, give me my current verse, but ignore the first character. I guess I could try that. Let's do this. Let's have it give me the first string, call it substring. That's a wonderful function giving you parts of a string, and we'll give it start index of 1 and ending and length of stir current stir current verse, -1. Getting long. Let's see if I can make that more readable to you here. What I'm basically saying is, put in that new verse, the current verse, but skip the first character. Instead of starting at 0, start at 1. And let's see if that skips over, giving me the that first blank line. This should let me experiment with whether I can get rid of that first space.
It actually just broke mine.
Oh yeah? Let's see what happens to me. Display, get that one. Next verse. Oh, it didn't get rid of that first space. Maybe VBCRLF maybe is 2 characters. Maybe I can do this. 2. Start at position 2 and now run. What happened to my file? How could I have lost my song file by doing that? Try this again. Well, at least it gave me the name of the file. You know what? It's doing a try catch somewhere, and I have some error in there. I have a feeling I have a problem with stir split. And because the try catch doesn't know what it caught, it's telling me a problem with the file when it really was not a problem with the file. I think the split is giving an error, and the try catch is it's actually saying, oh, stir split had a problem, here is the catch. So I'm pretty confident, since that was the last change I made, that that's not a fix. To figure out that one. I thought this would be a quick and dirty, just skip the first character of my stir result, but I'm getting some kind of error there. So I guess I'm gonna fall back to that and put we need some way of what happened to my continuation character. We made some way of getting rid of that extra line feed in the first line. I can worry about that later, I guess. So it does go forward. Now let's make it go backward. And also, let's check that we don't go past the end of our song. Because here I can see it's going past breaking my song. Or my code. Forward through. Am I getting to the very last verse? Let's verify this.
I made a try catch that just stopped me from adding one if it was on the last slide.
You're right. See, I don't get. There's the chorus that isn't being displayed on mine. I'm trying to figure out why. I'm going to put a breakpoint. Let's see, where should I do that? It's like the split isn't working with that last part. Return a stir result. Oh, that's because I didn't put in here the last part. So now let's do this. Let's do the last verse now is, remember how you got to do that. Redim, preserve, stir, sorry, a stir song. Now, if I don't know how long the array is, but I want to add one more element to it, what could I do? Well, I can just say, well, the next index should be a stir song dot length. This will have the same effect as adding another element to an array that is already holding something in it. I don't know if I can do it if I haven't put something in it first. I think I'll get an error because a stir song length. Oh, maybe it will work. Let me try that. I'm going to do up here. If I want to add more elements to my array, I can do redim preserve a stir result. Let's just try this. Let's try a stir result dot length. I'm thinking that this will let me add an element to it without me having to know how long it is already. I can just say, oh, it's 0 length long. Well, he needs to be able to have a 0th element. If it's length of 1, well, he'll need to have a 1th element, and then he'll have a length of 2. And a stir result, not a stir song result. Let's see if that works, and then we will. Then I should. Oh, and I also need to copy my last current verse into it. Stir current verse, and I'll say a stir result. Parenthesis. Well, what is not song? A stir result. Parenthesis, well, what is the last element of any array? Well, it is my array a stir result dot length minus 1. Equals current verse. Now, what's he got a problem with? A stir result. Oh, I spelled it wrong. This is a nice way. I don't need to have that I stir size variable anymore. I can just say, hey, a stir result length minus 1, put that in the last element of my array. And I'm going to do that same thing up here. Then I don't have to keep track of that I stir size variable. I can just say, hey, the last element gets my current verse. Do it again right here. Now let's find out whether that is it's going to work. Come over to my array, display. Oh.
That's because
I put the wrong variable in there.
That's because right now I think stir lyrics, and the first one is empty, and so it tries to split.
There, I think I had the wrong name in there. Oh, look at that. It doesn't like doing it if I haven't put anything in here. Let's see if I haven't put anything in an array yet, if length gives me a bad return number.
Because it's trying to split stir lyrics, which is empty right now.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
So it assigns not 0, it assigns nothing to this, like null.
Yeah.
To a string.
So here I can't do it. If it's the first one.
Yeah.
Let's see if I get it. I should get an error then. Let's see if it happens.
A string song is nothing. Null.
Yeah. So since it's null, length is invalid.
Because stir lyrics has no value to it.
Yeah. So I suppose I could, one way around this, I could declare it as only holding one thing at first. Length will be 0. The length will be 1. And so I'm redimming. I don't like having to redim it. I suppose the next time I come around,
that's result.
A stir result, yeah.
You need result 0. Well, it's stir song is the problem since their song is there. Oh, never mind. That was the wrong piece in here.
I suppose I could say, hey, if it's length 1, skip the part of redimming it, and then from then on, I'll redim it. I guess I'll do that. I'm going to do this. Looking a little messier. I'm going to say if 1 is equal to a stir result dot length, or if 1 is not equal to the length.
Oh, I got it to work.
How about if 1 is less than the length? Then I'll do that. Otherwise, I'll be redimming it.
I don't know what's going on. 'Cause I made it work again, but now there's a blank page in between my chorus and verse.
Well, this is not going to work either because my length of my array isn't increasing. Let's see. Maybe I guess I just have to use the I stir size. I was hoping not to have to use that up there. I guess I have to use I stir size here because I'm first coming through, the array has nothing in it. And now I'm making room for my last verse. This will still work. I know that's the last element of my array. Give room for one more element. And this should be a stir result, not an a stir song. So what this does, this is kind of handy thing to know. If I want to add one more element to an array, redim preserve with the current length of the array will add another element at the very end. And then this puts that into the last element. Fill last element. Any array with parenthesis, the length of my array minus 1 is the last element of my array. Really handy thing to know. I don't have to have a separate variable keeping track of the length of my array, which you'll see in a lot of examples. But if I can just do this, when I know I have made room for one more thing, I'm going to fill that one more thing with this. This is a really nice way to do it. I don't see a way around it up here because it first comes out as a null array, and I need to redim it each time and increment my size of my array. So I'm kind of stuck with it in there. Let's see if it's working, and then we'll figure out what we need to be doing next. Got the display, verse, still annoying I have that extra space in there. Let's see if I do actually get to the end of it. Oh, it works. Now, here's what I should probably be doing. Let's think of the behavior here. When I get to the end of the song, what really should happen is my right arrow, my forward button, should go gray. It shouldn't be able to be clicked anymore. So let's just fix that. Rather than doing a check, am I trying to go beyond, let's just turn off the button if I know I'm at the end of my song. And that's a better way to code than to try to do the try catch. Let's just say, well, this makes no sense to click on that forward button if I'm at the end. So let's adjust our forward button to be disabled when I am at the end of the song. Well, how could I do that? Let's put the little comment, disable forward button if at the end. Well, I've got that variable iSongVerse if I am at the end, well, I song verse will be equal to the length of my song minus 1, I think. Because song verse 0, song verse 1. Yeah. If I'm at the end of my song of array, then this will be true. If I song verse is less than or equal, just in case there's something in my code that sends it further than it should be, the I aster song array of strings dot length minus 1. Or sorry, greater than or equal. If song verse ever tries to go past or equal to the length, then, and if, what do I do inside? Time for a little exploring. Let's see, what can I do to a button? Let's try btn forward dot. What can I do to a button that perhaps may disable it? Is there a disable function? I don't have a disable. I do have an enabled variable that it looks like I can set to be a different value. And enabled as Boolean, I click on it, I see, oh, whether or not the control can respond to user interaction. Let's go ahead and do button forward dot enabled equals false. I can't go forward anymore because I'm at the end of my song. Let's see if this will work now in the right place. I think I've got this right. I increment the song verse, display that. If it is the last one, disable the forward button. Let's see if I got it right. Display, forward, 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 forward. Look at that, it's disabled. Now I got a problem. There's no code yet that re-enables it, so I'm going to have to fix that too. But now, I can't try to accidentally go past the end of my song. And the blank, oh, that's not working yet either. That'll be easy enough to fix. Alright, so now let's do the backward button. And think about what we're going to do there. So let's go ahead and do the double click backward button. And I'm going to do the similar thing as the forward button. I'm going to decrease my song verse, display that text, and if I am at 0, I want to disable the button. So let's go ahead and copy paste this code and just modify it a little bit. Control C copy, paste. Song verse minus equals 1. Let's go ahead and make sure that now that we've gone back 1, that we re-enable the forward button if we're not at the last verse. So then do else btn forward dot enabled equals true. So I can go forward now that I've gone backward, and I'm no longer greater than or equal to the length of my song. Now let's go ahead, we displayed the lyrics, and let's go ahead and I'll change this to be disable / enable forward button. And let's do the same thing with the backward button. I'll rewrite the code just so I remember how it goes. How about if I song verse is less than or equal to 0, then, well, I better be disabling my button backward. btn backward back dot enabled equals false. And of course, if I'm not, I better make sure, well, I guess if I wouldn't have been able to click this button if it were. So we better go back to the this guy. We better add that part of here, re-enable forward button if needed, or sorry, backward button if needed. So if the backward button is, if we're not at the 0th verse, let's go ahead and enable the back button. If I'm at verse 0, I can't go forward or backward. And that's something I don't think I have that set up in my logic right now. That when when I split it, if I only have one verse, forward and backward button actually should be disabled. But that's something I can refine. Let's see if this is working correctly on a song of more than one verse. Run. Captured the first verse. Forward. Let's go back. There, see how the back button should be disabled? That probably should be disabled at the very start. Forward. Oh, look at that, it got re-enabled. Good. So that's behaving properly. Forward, forward, forward. Oh, no more forwards. I can still go back. I go back one, and the forward gets re-enabled. So it looks like that's working. I can back and forth through my lyrics. Now, what have we done so far? We've been able to go through our lyrics. We've learned how we can we threw in there a little test. I know now how to write a file. So if I want to keep track of what songs I've been writing, I could have update my little log file, open it for appending rather than creating if it's a log file. This was just a test to see, yes, I can write to files. But then we got into the logic of our code, where we wrote that little split routine that takes a delimiter, looks through my string that's been given to me. Anytime I see the delimiter, I will create a new position in my result array, put that current verse into there, and then increment the stir size, because I need to keep track of that as I'm filling that array. Otherwise, if I'm not seeing the equal sign, I just keep tacking on new characters. And maybe here, let's see, there's some way. I'm still worried about how I get rid of that extra little character turn. I'll figure something out. Here's how we add a new element to an array that needs one more thing in it. Remember that preserve means preserve what's already in it. Don't give me a new array with that new length. Like, give me an array containing what's there with another element added. And then to get at the last element, that's the index of the last element of any array. The array's length -1 is the last element of my array. And I store the current verse in there. This is all the part about what gets displayed in my display box. Your task is to build on this, check for any errors, and I guess a challenge would be, can we get rid of that the character? On Tuesday, I would like to implement, can we read and select any songs from that folder? Can we populate our list of songs? Right now we just know song number 1. Can we populate this list box with all the song numbers we find in that particular folder? And then choose a song, and when I display it, go through that song's verses. Then another challenge will be, can I make this a separate window that can be maximized on my display screen, on my second display? Lots of possibilities we'll explore to get to some usable application. And then we'll talk, how would we deliver this to someone that loves this and wants to use it? All right, we'll stop there. If you have any troubles with anything, any questions about what we have, you can play the video. I'm gonna stop.